What's good, y'all? What's good? What's good? It's your big homie, Big Daddy, man. And it's the Real Talk, Real Shit podcast, man. Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much, or I should say, Asante Sana, for clicking on this video, man. Um, if you didn't know, it's Kwanzaa right now, man. We're still in today's the last day of Kwanzaa, man. Umoja. It's the last day of Kwanzaa, man. So, I gotta do this video, man, for my people, and I gotta do this video. Just for everybody, really, because I'm gonna be honest with you, people need to know the real histories about life. We're living in a time, right? We're living in a time where people don't even know who they are, what they are, where they come from, or anything like that. But you got the government and the powers that be who've done your ancestry on ancestry.com, who've done your ancestry, who've done the research, and they know exactly who you are. They know the history of life. They know where things come from. They know exactly who's who and what's what. But you don't. Majority of you don't, because you weren't taught nothing in school that was reality. In school, you were taught fantasies. Um, Let me break something down for you. You got, they call it history, right? History is his story. The whole time they were telling history, they were telling our story, the black man's story, because nobody can debate with me on this, that the African man was the first man on earth. The black man was the first man on earth. Nobody can debate with me on that. And if you want to, you might as well just kill yourself now, because there's no point of living if you can't accept the fact. You know what I'm saying? And that's no disrespect or racism behind that. That's the truth. Africa was the first continent. It was only one continent when everything first started. It was one landmass, and y'all call it Pangea. The government and the powers that be, they call it Pangea. Um, and there was nothing but one landmass. We all know this. Now let's get into the history of things, though. The original Pangea had dinosaurs on it. And we know this because that's what they tell us in history. Pangea had the dinosaurs on it. And also, what you don't know about Pangea, it had the giant people on there. Everything back in the day was bigger. Everything was bigger back in the days. The people were about 10 feet tall at the very least. There were giants. The original man was giant. The original animals were giants. And you got to think about that from this perspective. When the company's first making an item, a product, the first product line is bulky and clunky. And then as time goes by, it gets slimmer, more compact, and efficient. That's just simple thinking right there, where you can understand, like, the first cell phones were these big clunky devices with wires and gadgets and gizmos coming out of them. And then now we have paper thin devices that could do anything and everything. So um, this just as time goes by, things get more compact and more efficient and more smaller. So the original man was very tall. You can see the documents of that from you can see the bones of the original man, the giants. You can find that. You can look them up there. They got them in the Smithsonian museums. They got them all around the world. They got the dinosaurs all in the museums all around the world. The original animals, the giants. Okay, so if there was one landmass, it was one big slab of land. You have big giant animals. Everybody's big. Everything's big and running on that one landmass, right? Okay, boom. That's understood. Then what happened? I wasn't there, but from reading history, um, reading stories and reading history, they said the animals and men were getting out of control. Like, basically, the dinosaurs were too big. The man was too big and not controllable, because back in the days, humans lived for hundreds of years. They really didn't die like that. Majority of the people, the Who man that was alive back in the days that was created to mine this earth and to till this earth, didn't die like that. The ones who came down from the other countries, I mean, from the other planets, they didn't die. These people lived forever, right? So the original man lived forever, could do forever in a sense of hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? Hundreds of years, and basically the animals were too big, and if you had a human being that could live forever and he wasn't doing agreeable things, you would want to go back into your blueprint, redraw your thing, your design, and make him where he lives a shorter time span, so he had more appreciation for life, and who would listen more obedient. Because if you have a person who lives for 500 years and he knows he could live up to 1,000 years or so, he's going to be very arrogant. He's going to be he's not going to listen. He's not going to truly listen because he's going to have the ability to keep going forever and ever. So he's going to inflict his will. And that's just simple thinking, because if I knew I was going to live for 1,000 years, my whole lifestyle would be different than it is now. I know that, because the way I live now is to preserve myself, to elongate my lifespan, because I don't know how long this you get on this life. Okay? So they had the design of man who was too big, too bold. He was like a son of God. They called them, in the book of Genesis, they called the giants the children of renown, the men of old. The men of old and the children of renown. The children of God. They were like the children of the original men. And they came in and they were just fucking big, and in the book of Genesis it said the giants came in down to earth and seen the women of earth to be beautiful and all that, so they took them and made it with them and all that, and that's where you have those demigod people. You get what I'm saying? That's where the demigod people came from, aka the generation of people who have a great understanding and the people basically like me, the demigod people, the people who have a great stupid understanding of life, and who have a, I ain't gonna say I'm God at all, but I know I have him in me. I know I have it in me. I know I have God coursing through me. So I would just call myself like a demigod, bro, straight up. And I'm a watered down generic generational uh variant of that shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Um and that's my opinion, but I have a different, my lifestyle is very different than majority of everybody else. It's very different, man, and I can only equate that to some God factor. You know what I'm saying? But long story short, we're gonna not no fuck that. We're gonna leave right where I left off. The men of renown was mating with the women, and you have these demigod people, this tall man, the giants, the big, the top. Okay, boom. So all of these people were basically black, all of them. Okay, that the different races didn't come about until two things: environment change, climate change, and genetic engineering. Um, there was some major events that happened. They called it the what they call like an asteroid. They said the asteroid hit planet Earth, um, right in the middle of Pangea, and took out all the great people, took out all the dinosaurs, took out all those old people, all them giants, and knocked them out. You know, it was the extinction level event. And then the people that are left on Earth now are the ones who were either their continent split up and cracked and went to another, shifted to another place in the ocean, or they hid up in those mountains. They hid up in those regions. And when the Africans, when the original man, the African was, um, some of them were traveling. You had some Africans who traveled. They wanted to see the other parts of the earth, so they would get in boats, and they would sail to other seas and sail the seas and all that stuff. The original African travelers before Roosevelt and all them motherfuckers and all them people who, the pirates. Before the pirates, you had those African travelers who were traveling the Nile River and traveling the Euphrates Valley, and going the through the mountains and all that shit. And then what happened was, when the kaboom happened, because you never know where you're gonna be at on Earth when the event happens. You know, you never know where you're gonna be when the ELE, extinction level event, is gonna happen. And the old times event went through it. Everybody goes through it. Life is always the Earth's always going to cycle itself, or either the people who control Earth. I don't know how deep it goes. I don't know about that. But so let me talk about the history though. What I do know, when 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 those people traveled and the asteroid or comet or whatever it was hit and blew everything up and boom, separated everybody, destroyed the middle of everything. Boom, turned those valleys and lush lands into desert, because a lot of that's where the desert comes from. A lot of that desert areas comes from when Pangea happened. When it's either, I'm gonna say this. I do know this. I think it wasn't an asteroid. I don't know exactly what it was, but I do know that I read in history that at a certain point in time, the Great Pyramids came down from out of the skies. Those three pyramids of Giza, or some of the Great Pyramids, I'm not going to say all of them, some of those Great Pyramids came down from out of the sky, and the old people documented that they said blood was shooting out the back of the pyramid, and it came down and landed. And when it landed, it boom blew up. Now that is exactly where those deserts in Egypt and those deserts and those valleys and those regions come from. It's when those people came down and landed here, man. When they landed, their ships were so massive and so big, it damn blew up all that shit. You know what I'm saying? So they come down and they start just damn colonizing the earth. This is after Mudmen and all that. They start colonizing Earth, and they start showing us the way, and they started giving us the languages and the knowledges and the documents and all that good old stuff. And what happened to some of those African people? Some of them got trapped in the Caucasus Mountains. And I'm gonna tell you right now where European people come from. Not European, where the Caucasian people came from. The history of the Caucasian man. Some of those Africans got trapped up in the Caucasus Mountains. And this is where the word Caucasian comes from. The Caucasus Mountains. Look it up. So they got trapped in the Caucasus Mountain region, right? They didn't have no electricity, no food, no water, basically, they had nothing but whatever was inside the caves. And this is where the cavemen come from. They lost their pigment. They lost their skin color. They lost their eye color. Their eyes turned blue. Because if you listen to me now, if you take any colored animal or any colored insect or any colored anything, and you put it in the darkness, and you put it in the darkness in a dark spot with no light for a long period of time, it's going to go blonde, and his eyes are going to go blue. And the reason his eyes go blue is to reflect off of the darkness. It's so they can see in the dark. It helps them see in the dark. The blonde hair, they're not getting no sunlight. So the opposite of dark and light is, the opposite of darkness and sun, photosynthesis would be blonding and no light. And then the hair would go, instead of being up and curly or up and coarse to protect your head from the sun or the radiation and different things like that, your hair goes blonde straight down, because it didn't need to protect you from the sun. It needed to protect your ear and your neck gland from being so cold. Like, it needed to protect you from being cold. So it goes down to protect you from being cold. And then your beard grows out to protect you from the cold. This is environmental change. If you move to Alaska right now, you'd grow a thicker beard and you'd grow longer down hair, no matter who you are. Because your environment, whatever you need to and survive your environment, your body will adjust. So then once, like I said, I don't know how many hundreds of years they were in there or how long they were in there, but it was a long period of time to where they lost pigmentation and lost their eye color, and it went to blue eyes and blonde hair. and white skin, pale skin, because it was getting no photosynthesis. It was getting no what do you call it? Sunlight. You know what I mean? No color. That's where this comes from. This is why, now let's go deeper with it. This is why to this day European or Caucasian people cannot be in the sun, because they don't need as much sun as you did. They don't need as much sun as I do. They don't need the vitamin D or gamma rays from the sun. Their body can't handle the gamma rays and the radiation, because they were come from a place to where they didn't have gamma radiation emitting all the way around in them, and their bodies didn't absorb it like ours do. We absorb it. We don't go out and get sunburnt like a European, like a Caucasian person does, because our bodies absorb the radiation and gamma rays. We need the energy. We need the photosynthesis light energy. We're the light people, the sun people. You know, this is not disrespect to nobody. These are facts and reality. This is why you are who you are. And this is why life is what it is. We all got trapped somewhere. We all had to survive. And then think about this. When you were in the cave, you had no way to cook. You had no way to cook your food. Caucasian people had no way to cook their food. So guess what they had to do? Eat raw meat. They had to learn how to eat raw meat. That's where the taste for that meat, that medium rare and that rare steak comes from. You want your burger rare and medium rare, because you didn't have to cook in the cave. The caveman didn't have no fire and all that to cook initially. He didn't have cooking tools. He had to survive. He had a club. He had to club a motherfucker. And all the savagery come from the caveman. And I'm just gonna be honest with you. Sexually, how would you meet your sexual needs if it was only, say it was only 50 people it started with in the tribe? Eventually, once you're eventually gonna start inbreeding, and eventually you're gonna start look, this is where the homosexuality comes from. This is where homosexuality comes from. The caveman. They were in that then, and they had to survive, man. Y'all wouldn't even believe what you would have to do to survive. And I can't blame the caveman. I can't blame him, because if you didn't have no way, nothing, nothing, you would drink the blood. If you had no way to cook your food, you would eat the raw flesh. If you had nothing else to make love to, you might make love to yourself. Look, y'all are doing it to this day, and you have choice. You're making love to your own kind to this day, and you have a choice. Do you understand? Do you not understand this? How serious the psychosystematic system that's put in place is? This shit is serious, and it all comes from the caveman. So I'm not disrespecting nobody. It just happened like that, man. And then nowadays, and then when it listen, and when it was in the cave, Lucifer came. I'm gonna tell you something. Lucifer came to him. The devil came to the caveman, and he brought him fire. And that's why, still to this day, the caveman worships the burning fire. He worships the burning fire because Lucifer came in that cave and gave him fire and showed him how to burn things and how to cook things. And it helped him survive the heat, the warmth. They stopped dying so much from moisture and different things like that. You could boil your water. You could become more civilized with fire. And then they took that fire on them sticks, them sticks with fire, and they started being able to leave out of the cave because they had some heat protection, some heat, so they can go out of the cave into the icy lands and venture out. You know what I mean? And the farther they ventured out, they finally met the civilized man. And who was the civilized man at that time? That they ran into at the Caucasus Mountains? The Kemetic people, those ancient people from Egypt and the Nile Valley and all those people, those old African people, the people who had gold, the people who had God, the people who had jewelries and who had civility and humility, and they knew right and wrong. and they ate their meat and they covered their loins, and they didn't enter their own kind, and they had laws and values and system of way to conduct yourself. Then the caveman met them. What's up, man? What's up? Hold up. Yeah. So then they met them, and the civilized man started showing him stuff. He started giving him stuff. He started showing him how to do this. He gave him some clothes. He showed him how to do that. And he left and came back, went back to the cave. He left and went back to the cave. He said, yo, I met these people. Boy, they got food. They got fish. I never seen nothing like it. They got houses. They got livestock got houses. They got clothes on. They got jewelry. I never seen nothing like it. They got fruits. I never seen nothing like it. We gotta go. We gotta go see what's up with that. We gotta go see what's up with that. So then they brought more people. So then they brought more people to the temples. With the fire sticks. We need some help, help. I'm coming, Sky, okay? I'm coming. I'm almost finished with this video, okay? They're like, we need help. So then they said they gave him a little help. They gave him a little help and sent them back. When they sent them back, they's like, yo, we bringing everybody. So yeah, so then they brought them all. They came back, but by that time, the Egyptian people, it was Ramesses, one of them guys. I forget. I think it was Ramesses or Ramesses the second, I believe. He said, "Yo, man, it's too many of them coming, man. It's too many. I can't do nothing about it, man. They're gonna bring everybody. They're gonna take us over. That's like I can't feed them all. It ain't like it's a lot came this time, bro. We gotta build up a wall." Donald Trump. He said we gotta build up a wall. So they took and they built up a wall around the temples. They built up a wall because they knew they were coming back. They built up a wall. They built up a wall. When they finished building up the wall, they had a great feast. Rama says he commissioned a great feast, and I believe it was Ramesses the second. I'm not gonna. I know he fought the great battle, but I believe it was him. I forget who. I believe it was him who said this, but he said he made the wall, and he said he commissioned a great party for everybody. He said, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die." He said, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die." That's where that quote comes from. He said that and because he knew that the caveman was going to bring everybody he had. And they came and they wanted in and they didn't let him in. And they lit those fucking walls on fire with their fire. And they came in and they savaged. And they took over the temples. And when they took over the temples, before they took over the temple, some of those people, this is where Rome came from. Some of those people that the Egyptians had taught went over to Rome and those places like that, and they set up shop in temples like that. So before the great nations had all the way fell, some of those people became the Romans and all that good old shit like that. So once they took over the great nations, they started stealing everything, because they taught them how to read that shit. They taught them some shit. They tried to civilize those cavemen, but you can't take somebody. You can't try to give even people like me. You can't try to give somebody a lifetime of civilization or thousands of years of civilization that if they only could see their immediate small lifetime span. You get what I'm saying? If we're not living in the bigger picture, we're not going to be able to understand how to grasp this right knowledge. You get what I'm saying? Because it's been going on. The same thing's been going on for thousands of years, man. We're going through restarts and resets right now, aka the Great Reset and shit like that. We're going through this shit right now. It's just our turn in our time. So you better know who you are, and you better know what your purpose is here on this earth. And to all the Caucasian people, it's no disrespect because my grandmother was Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? I have about 20-some% of the blood running through my body. So it's not no racism. It's reality. So understand who you are and why you have the urges you have, why you want that rare steak, and why you know why when the bonfire lights up you go woo woo. Why you worship the fire. That's why you worship the fire. That's your God. It was your ancestors' God. You know what I'm saying? It's your big homie, Big Beta, man. Before Black History starts, this January the 1st, I did give y'all some life history. Some our story. Not his story. I'm giving y'all our story and their story. It's your big homie, Big Beta, man. I'm going here and get to it, cook some food for my babies, and live my story and write my book. It's your big homie, Big Beta, man. You better write your story. You better write your book so you can exist in history. Let me read something to y'all real quick, man. Let me read something to y'all, man. This is Jehuti. This is Jehuti. They call him Thoth. His name is Jehuti. And this is Ptah. Look, it says, the creator he made to come into being everything that exists. He was the scribe of the gods, and he invented writing, mathematics, and ordered times and seasons. He ordered that shit. His associate was the goddess Ma'at, the personification of physical and moral law. Tame, or Atmu, who was always represented in the form of a man, was an ancient solar god who and was adopted by the priests of Heliopolis and the head of their great company of the gods. That's Jehuti. That's the man who writes and keeps record and date and time and mathematics and all that, and gave us the seasons and the reasons. And that's his homie. That these are real gods. They don't want you to know. We come from the real gods. You know what I'm saying? The people who was walking and talking on this earth. Not no like the physical evidence of this shit. These people really existed. You know what I'm saying? They left behind real document and evidence and enough evidence for us to even decipher and read this stuff, man. It's a blessing, man. It's just a blessing to know your history and to know who you are and where your people come from. And I ain't talking about I'm an Egyptian or nothing like that. I'm just talking about the original man. You know what I'm saying? To be a part of the bloodline of the original man is just a wonderful thing, man. You know, and look, right here, boom. This is what happens when you pass away. Look, when you pass away, they're gonna weigh your heart. They're gonna weigh your heart on a scale with with the feather of Ma'at, and that's the guy right there being judged. And that's Ampu or Anubis. See, I know what the fuck going on. There's witchcraft and with the whoop. When you die, you're gonna see your shit get weighed too. So make your heart as light as a feather. That's where that term light as a feather comes from. So y'all witches think y'all doing something, but y'all don't even know what y'all really doing. Y'all are just worshiping Amun Ra Ma'at. You know what I'm saying? So keep up the witchcraft, because that shit ain't gonna do nothing but curse you to a funny place in existence. You know what I'm saying? But it's just very much I'm gonna get into the book with y'all later. So I don't think any most of y'all ready for this. You know, it says, look, it says, saith he that is in the tomb, graciously grant, O weigher of the righteousness, the balance to be stableth. That motherfucker say, weigher of righteousness, the balance to be stableth. Man, it say, make to stink my name, boy. Look, make to stink my name, Shenit. May there not be spoken lies against me near the God. Good, good good is it for thee to hear. That man said, he said, make it stink. Make your mouth stink if you talk against him. For real, bro. The true gods, bro. You can't disrespect the true gods. You can't. Your shit'll be all fucked up. And then, but a lot of people don't understand what life really is, man. But it's your big home, big baddie, man. I know the truth. That's why they don't want my shit to grow. Because if we grow, we could really change the world back to where it originally was, and people could live the way it was originally supposed to live. I love y'all. I love all y'all, my Caucasians included. I just need you to understand who you are and why we are the way we are. We're all here on this earth, and we were all African. We're all Africans. Every last one of us. It's just some of us was taken away from grace, and a lot of us don't strive for grace. We strive for evil. So live your life, man. It's your big home, big baby. We're gonna do more history coming later. I got a video I'm gonna do about the NBA and the NFL giants of the Book of Genesis. We're gonna tap on that next.